Settlers traveling west in search of a new life had to be tough to survive life on the open prairie. If the journey itself wasn't enough, upon arrival, settlers faced bad weather, insect infestations, and a lack of supplies. This group of pioneers was tough, but they were also smart. They recognized the importance that water played in their survival on the open prairie. That is why they settled here, next to the Loup River. To the early settlers, the Loup River provided drinking water, and the timber along its banks was used for building and heating early homes of the area. For many years, the residents of Columbus tossed around ideas as to how they could better utilize the waters of the Loup River. By the turn of the century, crops were being irrigated with water from the river, and for years following, the moving waters of the area were used to power mills for grinding flour and other products. But there just had to be more, and so thought local resident H.E. Babcock. Babcock envisioned harnessing the Loup's power with an extensive canal system and reservoir. However, Babcock was met with funding problems, and the project was shelved. It would not be until the Great Depression and the need to create jobs for so many that the idea of such a project would be considered and move forward. On June 16, 1933, not even 100 days into his administration, President Franklin D. Roosevelt of the National Industrial Recovery Act created the Public Works Administration. This, along with the need to electrify rural America, put Mr. Babcock's dream into motion. 3 Columbus businessmen, Phil Hockenberger, Harold Kramer, and C.B. Fricke, knew that bringing electricity to rural Nebraska would not only improve the quality of life for area residents, but would also create jobs.
Well, back in the early 30s, of course, we were in the midst of a depression, and some local businessmen from Platte County got together and resurrected a dream that had been around for quite a while to use the waters of the Loup River to produce electricity. But they were thinking more of producing jobs for the people in the area.
In 1932, Hockenberger, Kramer, and Fricke filed for the water rights to the Loup and Cedar Rivers, as well as the Shell and Beaver Creeks. In 1933, Governor Bryan signed the Enabling Act, which allowed public power districts to organize. Loup became the first public power district in the state of Nebraska. By November of that year, the Loup project was awarded a $7.3 million loan and grant. And so it was that in 1933, work on the Loup Power Canal System began. Excavation began near Genoa, which was the first step toward the canal system we have today. More than 1,000 people went to work for the Loup River Public Power District. During a dark period of our country's history, the communities along the 35-mile Loup River Canal project had hope. They were a hardy bunch. Just like the pioneers who settled the area, they were just as tough and just as smart. And tough they had to be. Some areas of the canal were dug by hand, a shovel at a time, in all climates, blistering heat and frigid cold.
Well, part of the work was done with horses. They were still using horses to dig with and to haul things back in the 30s. Most of it was done with very primitive mechanical equipment, so that even makes the feat all the more remarkable.
Laboring on the canal lifted more than dirt from the earth. It lifted everyone's spirit, created hope for the future, and in some ways, buried a bit of the past. But it wasn't all hand shovels and picks that built what at the time was an engineering marvel. The Monahan crane, a 365-ton machine standing 176 feet tall, walked like a duck and sounded like a freight train. Because of its size, the Monahan crane became the most memorable part of construction for several families in the area who tracked the crew's progress at every turn. It was the largest of 12 cranes that worked on the canal and was one of the largest cranes in existence worldwide. 35 cents an hour was a good wage in those days. The economic benefits of the project were felt throughout the entire region. The district's purchase of farmland saved many agricultural operations by reducing or sometimes completely eliminating mortgages with the sale of only a few acres. Boarding houses and cafes were at capacity, and new businesses related to the project sprung up all over. Not everyone was in favor of the Loup project. When opposition from other power districts in Nebraska created an injunction that held their pay, the Loup bunch just kept on working.
Farmers were able to get a job and they were able to pay their mortgage. And I've heard that some farms were saved because of the wages they earned from building the canal.
Some farmers felt as if they had gotten the raw end of the deal. The canal ran across what was once their land, and guess what? They, the farmers, didn't even have electricity. In 1935, Roosevelt's Rural Electrification Administration changed all that and paved the way for power lines to be built by the Loup Power District, serving over 800 rural customers in Platte County. In 1943, Loup transferred 987 miles of rural distribution lines to the newly organized Cornhusker Rural Public Power District.
Nebraska is the only state in the nation that is 100% public power. Public power ensures many benefits for the consumer.
The consumers are the owners of the electric system. It's the fact that we don't pay investors for any of the dollars that come from our system. Because of that, we're able to keep our rates relatively low compared to other investor-owned utilities.
Loup's wholesale partners help Loup customers enjoy low rates.
We have a very good relationship with NPPD. They are our partner in what we do. The generation that comes from the Monroe and Columbus powerhouses is sold directly to NPPD through a contract. We have a contract with NPPD where they buy and take all of the power from the generating units at Columbus and Monroe. They include that in their total generation mix and then sell that back to all of their customers. It helps keep NPPD's rates lower, which then helps keep our rates lower.
It is a tribute to the skill of the engineers and employees that the power plants in Monroe and Columbus have run efficiently and effectively for over 70 years.
We are just now rehabilitating those two hydro plants at Monroe and Columbus after over 70 years. We found that they were remarkably in still good condition, but we're going to be able to get considerably more power out of those plants because of modern materials and rehabilitation.
Operators monitor the hydro system 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Loup Power has created more than a clean, affordable, and reliable source of electrical service for the district and its customers. The development of the district has also created 5 parks along the canal system. These areas, open to the public and at no cost, provide a wide variety of recreational opportunities.
Fishing abounds along the canal from the headworks where the waters from the Loup River enters the canal system near Genoa to 35 miles downstream to the tail race east of Columbus where the water enters the Platte River. Camping is allowed in several of the parks and boating for both fishing and fun can be found at Lake North. One of the most popular pastimes for area residents is running the miles of ATV trails and sand dunes at the headworks near Genoa. An annual off-road jamboree attracts ATV enthusiasts from all over the country.
Emphasis on economic development in the Columbus area dates back to the middle 1800s, when the Founding Fathers established the town as a trading post and agricultural marketplace. Job creation was also a determining factor in the Loup Power District project going forward in the 1930s.
This was amidst of a national depression as well as the Dust Bowl in the Midwest. There were no jobs around, very low pay, and during this depression and drought, things were very, very dire. In about 1934, construction began on the Loup Power Canal. And can you believe that employed over 1,000 people in 1934, 1935, and 36 building the Loup Power Canal, as well as the two powerhouses, the headworks, and the entire canal system.
Loup Public Power has always believed that industrial development is the key to job creation.
It was just a natural for the Loup Board and management to continue in economic development in Columbus.
This philosophy is what led to the first publicly owned industrial park.
It was about in 1942 and 43, they were planning to put an aluminum plant into Columbus. And the Loup Board wanted an opportunity for a new industrial manufacturing in Columbus, and they were able to purchase approximately 90 acres adjacent to the city limits of Columbus. In 1945, the war ended, and they didn't put the aluminum plant, but we had the industrial site. Several local industries purchased ground from Loup, and it was the first industrial site in the state of Nebraska created only and for industry to grow.
Attracting industry to the area also helps Loup keep their rates low.
Back in 1970s, early 1970s, Loup started promoting electric heat, so we could use those same facilities we had to install for the summer load to serve a winter load. At the same time, we got very active in economic development to bring in industries who use power year-round on an even basis. Currently, we have the best load factor in the state of Nebraska. You might call the load factor an efficiency factor. MPPD has 77 wholesale customers. Loup is consistently the second or third lowest as far as our wholesale power costs, and it's because we are so efficient in using MPPD's facilities.
We take a lot of pride in the construction, the operation of our facilities to keep them in good repair, to keep them looking nice so that people can say when they go by, boy, there's a Loup Power facility. Doesn't that thing look beautiful? We don't like to have our facilities in disrepair. We do a lot of work to keep the canal looking nice, trash cleanup, raking, mowing during the summers. Same with our park system, because we want people to utilize those and to have a good experience when they do utilize those facilities. When I think about where Loup is heading in the future, I think about the four-county area. We provide services to people in the four-county area beyond just electric service, recreational service, economic development services. Our employees are an integral part of each of our communities, as our communities are so important. And we want our communities to be an integral part of who Loup Power District is.